Welcome to today's press briefing. On the stage, we have two doctors, Dr. Zhang Shokwan, Head of Communicable Disease Branch, Center for Health Protection, and Dr. Lau Ka-hin, Hospital Authority Chief Manager. Let's hear from Dr. Zhang on the COVID-19 update. Good afternoon. We recorded 364 PCR confirmed cases, including 53 from Hospital Authority, 37 from Public Health Laboratory Service of the Center for Health Protection, as well as 294 from private laboratories. And for RAT positive cases successfully registered on the online platform and confirmed via PCR, we recorded 450 as of last night. So the total tally for today is 814. Cumulatively, we recorded 1.206544 positive cases here since the beginning of the fifth wave. We recorded 106 imported cases. 64 of them were picked up at the airport, and 43 cases arrived on the 10th of June via 13 flights, and 27 other cases arriving on the 10th of June via 9 flights. 34 cases were picked up either in quarantine hotels or isolation facilities. 8 other cases were picked up after 7 days in quarantine. Among them, 7 are re-positive cases with high CT values. For the remaining case, the CT value is on the low side. It could be a local case. So we will conduct genome sequencing. As for residential care homes, we have not recorded any new cases. For schools, this is a school holiday today, and still we received reports from 2 schools because of cases emerging during the holiday. For Class 2C of Ma Tau Chung, Class 6 students were infected. We have advised the school to suspend this class for 1 day. And for Class 4E of Polang Kok Choi Kayao School, 4 students were infected. They have 28 students in the class, and again, we also advise them to suspend face-to-face teaching for a week. As for death cases, the hospital authority have not reported new cases. So in the fifth wave, the total tally stands at 9,177. There are also local cases suspected to contain BA.2.12.1 substrain. We have 16 additional cases, one of which is a family member of a confirmed case, and for 5 other cases, they reside in Loshan Mansion, Koshan Terrace of Tai Gu Sing. One is a 3-person household, the other 2-person household. We also have sporadic cases, one living in Seng Si Dai Hai in Wan Chai, the other in Choi On Court, Yuan Estate, Hong Kong Island, the other living in Park Eng Wan, Tower 6 of Ho Man Tin, and also Metro Harbour, Tower 5, and Tung Choi Street, Phu Wa Mansion in Mong Kok. We registered 1 case respectively in these premises. And also Sun Wan Bun, Tower 1 in Lau Fau Shan, Yuen Long, we recorded 1 case, and also Ngan Ngon House came on court, and also 2 cases in the same family in Dai To Wan, Tower 2, Tuen Mun. For bar clusters, for Link and Shovel, we have not recorded new cases. That should be the end of the clusters. For Rack City, we have not recorded new cases. So far, the total count stands at 18. And we understand from Vaccine Pass information, during the same period that night, there were 60 patrons. We collected 19 environmental samples, 18 are negative. There is 1 sample taken from the surface of a billiard table, and the result is indeterminate. There could be the contamination, and we have advised thorough cleansing and disinfection for the premises. For FLM, we've recorded 4 more cases. 1 is a staffer, the other 3 are patrons. Altogether, there are 17 cases. Over 120 patrons were there on that day. For the 17 cases, there are 16 males and 1 female, aged 22 to 57. That concludes my report. Dr. Lau will give you an update of hospital authority situation. Good afternoon. We have 361 patients in the hospital. 39 are newly confirmed cases. And for those in isolation facilities, 100 of them are in isolation wards, 8 of them in second-tier isolation wards, and 52 others in North Lantau Hospital, Hong Kong Infectious Control Center. There are 29 newly confirmed cases. And yesterday, we recorded 3 more patients in critical condition. We have not reported any new serious case. For the 15 inpatients, there are 15 in critical condition, 7 in a serious condition, and 3 critical patients are receiving intensive care. We have not recorded any death case as of yesterday, and yesterday 47 patients recovered, including 35 patients who have been discharged, and since the beginning of the 5th wave, 50,858 patients have recovered, including 50,481 who have been discharged. And since the beginning of 2020 in Hong Kong, 63,238 patients have recovered, including 62,861 patients who have been discharged. And we have not recorded any patients testing positive via admission screening. As for HA staff, 23,660 cases have tested positive and 23,570 have recovered and returned to their positions. And we also like to give notice in relation to implementation of a vaccine pass requirement. As reported earlier, starting from tomorrow, the 13th of June, vaccine pass arrangements will be implemented through administrative means for our facilities. The purpose is to step up our protective barrier against COVID-19 and to protect users of public healthcare services. In particular, elderly patients and chronic patients who tend to have serious conditions when being infected. We'd also like to boost the vaccination rate. We understand that members of the public may have questions in relation to the vaccine pass arrangements, and we have also uploaded FAQs to the HA's dedicated website, which is the portal to special outpatient clinic services. And my colleague has also disseminated information to reporters here. The SOPCs at each hospital will put up posters and notices to explain to the public the relevant arrangements, and there will be additional staff at hospitals to help out. And if a patient cannot meet the vaccine pass requirement, the patient can show proof of a negative PCR test taken 48 hours before visiting the premises. As for family members and accompanied persons, they must comply with the vaccine pass requirements before they can enter the SOPCs. They cannot use the alternative method, which is to show a negative PCR test result. I stress once again that as a public healthcare institution, we must put patients' interests first. And if there are difficulties, patients can approach our colleagues for help. The hospital authority will definitely handle the matter flexibly in light of the actual situation and provide the best help we can. And to make sure emergency and urgent services will not be affected, the vaccine pass arrangement does not apply to premises providing episodic or urgent treatments, including GOPCs, A&E department, the Chinese medicine clinics, training and research centers under the hospital authority. We also have healthcare premises providing essential services to some patients, such as the hemodialysis centers, day chemotherapy centers, and geriatric day hospitals. For these facilities, depending on the actual situation, they have currently implemented a same-day RAT arrangement with regard to the condition of service users as an anti-epidemic measure. Finally, a reminder for everyone, vaccination is an effective means to guard against death cases and serious cases. Vaccination also remains effective against the different strains of COVID-19. We urge those who have not received the necessary doses to get jabbed as soon as possible, especially those who frequently visit SOPC, such as elderly patients, chronic patients, and other immunocompromised adults. Of course, if you are also an eligible person and if you have received 2 jabs, please get the 3rd and 4th jab as soon as possible.
The floor is now open to questions. Before putting your questions, please tell us your media outlet. Let's start with the gentleman over there. I'm from cable TV. For imported cases today, there are more than 100 of them. Is there a need to retighten the border control measures? Thank you. Now, for imported cases, we have more than 100 of them. 60 or so are picked up at the airport on the same day of arrival. The cases are from a number of different flights. It may have to do with many more flights arriving at Hong Kong. Next question, the gentleman over there. I'm from AM 730. You mentioned 2 schools that reported cases today. Is there a requirement for schools to report cases if they find any, even over the weekend or on holidays? You mentioned this Poito Primary School. How many students in total are there in that class with an infected case? You mentioned the case picked up after day 7 and you suspect that to be a local case. Where does this case come from? For suspected BA4 and BA5 cases, do we have any progress, any update on those cases, please? For the schools, there is no requirement for them to notify us of cases over holidays. Some schools may be concerned about infection, so they report the cases to us when, say, if there are clusters. Otherwise, they can let us know about the cases on Monday. For the Ma Tao Chong Poito Primary School, there are 29 students in total in that class. As for the case picked up on day 8, it's an arrival from the UK. We still have to find out whether this is an imported case or a local infection. Next question. The reporter at the front. I'm from Ming Pao. For the 2 bars with infections, Rex City and FLM, according to the investigation of the CHP so far, what kinds of activities were there at the 2 bars? You mentioned drinking and billiards. Based on what the CHP is aware of, was there dancing or live performances in breach of the COVID rules at the 2 bars? Yesterday, we investigated at one of the bars. The bar told us that they were not aware of the circumstances under which they would have to suspend operations. Which government department is tasked with deciding whether a premise with infection should suspend operations? Which department is supposed to inform these premises? And if the premises flout the rules, are there consequences for them? Final question. Yesterday there were 800 or so cases, and the number is similar today. What's the CHP's assessment in terms of the case number in the days to come? Is there a chance that we will be seeing more than 1,000 cases per day? For the 2 bars, Rex City, there was drinking, people were playing billiards. There were also people dancing. For FLM, people were mostly drinking. When we see an outbreak, we inform the venue to suspend operation for the time being and wait till the test results are out and also disinfect the place. We also inform the FEHD, the licensing department. And when there's a field investigation, the staff will look for circumstances to see if their follow-up is needed. But which department gets to decide who should suspend operation? If there's an outbreak, we will recommend the suspension of operation. Is there any consequences for flouting the rules? I don't see any signs of flouting the rules. Next question, the lady at the back. I'm from now. We still have 800 or so cases today. Is there a risk that we will see more than 1,000 cases? More than 50,000 people have received BioNTech and then they switch to the Sinovac jab. But the Joint Scientific Committee has recommended that people get BioNTech as their third shot. And there's talk that there should be greater publicity about getting the BioNTech jab. Do you see a need to appeal to the people to take the BioNTech as their third jab? There is a rise in cases recently. We do not rule out the possibility of further rises in the daily caseload. These cases are not concentrated in one particular area. There are cases across the territory. Sewage surveillance always reveals a rise in the viral load. The real-time reproduction rate monitored by the HKU is also on the rise. Back in February and March, there was a fifth wave of outbreak. There were more than 1 million infections, but the estimate is that maybe 4 or 5 million people have been infected. Still, there are millions of people who have not been infected. With more people out and about, and people go out and engage in social activities, there's a risk for them to get infected, and that may be one of the factors behind the rise in the caseload. The Joint Scientific Committee has made this point that 3 shots of the BioNTech vaccine are highly effective. People can rest assured and get the shot. The relevant departments provide at-home vaccination services. Next question. Any other questions? If no, that concludes our press briefing today. Thank you.